because it's silent. It's easier than you think. One of my students who I've known since 2011, she's got her invitation. There she is. Who you are and how you came to. Back then it was, I think, no, it was pause and joy, but it hadn't really kind of formulated the essence of pause and joy. I just got the download. I wasn't quite sure what it was myself.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Connecticut in an immigrant family, a Bangladeshi American family. And growing up, we were in luck. I was born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut. Um, Same kind of immigrant story, no health insurance, parents working. And really, I had a lot of pressure to succeed in this world. And I didn't know what that meant. And so there was a lot of pressure from my family on there's a certain path to take, and you need to take it for things to work. And so I graduated from university and I didn't know what to do. And I was terrified. I was terrified of what's next. How do I get a job and how do I support myself? And so the only solution I could think of is I need to go to get an advanced degree. I need a professional degree that will give me a job and they'll give me security and safety. And so I did that and I went to law school, and at the end of law school, my friend said to me, "We need to move to California." And I heard that message and I knew it was right, and I did. And I'm so glad.
It felt right.
It felt absolutely right that I should be going and this is what I need to do.
Had you ever been to California beforehand?
I mean, I had no, I did. There was one trip because we had some family outside of Sacramento that my dad knew. And I remember when I had gone, I think I was 12 years old. I remember thinking, I'm supposed to be here. But I had a lot of weird resistance to California. I wrote a paper in elementary school about how much I hated California.
I did the same thing.
And for a good part of it, I didn't realize that I had infertility issues. And it was probably when we started really trying. And we had been trying. I think I was 29 years old. And I went to the doctor and it was, we don't know what's wrong. We don't know. There's no reason for it.
For Saturn return as well at 30.
Yeah.
At 29. Yeah.
And I went to a great endocrinologist, but they just had no idea what was causing this.
Yeah.
So I went through IVF and I had the girls. And
I didn't know you at this time. Yeah, I knew you after.
No.
Yeah, the girls.
And then I had the girls and we left California, went to the East Coast, and I was so upset about being there. I was distraught the entire time because I felt trapped. And magically we come back to California and I'm working for the government, and I'm at a party in Santa Monica and I can feel someone doing Reiki and I have a conversation with them. And I asked them, "What is this?" Because it was so tangible. It was like warm rays of sunshine touching my skin. And it felt so peaceful and beautiful. And she said, "Well, you can go to my teacher." And I was like, no, I don't want someone to do this. I need to be taught this. Whatever this is, I have to have it. And I think I emailed you immediately. And it was different for me because this time around, I didn't think about what is this going to be? How much is it going to cost? What does this entail? I just knew whatever this is, I had to have it. And then after
have that sunshine in my life all
the
time.
I need it all the time because I was feeling so frazzled. I had twins and I was underwater. I was working full time and I would get angry and I would get upset and I would feel frantic. And I knew I worked so hard to have these children, but and it didn't make sense that I would be upset and I couldn't be calm, but I was upset and I couldn't be calm. And then after doing my Reiki, I got naturally pregnant easily with the boys.
I think it was about a month later.
Yeah. Because I came in to do the Reiki too, and I was already pregnant with Ajay.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I took a long hiatus. I think it was 7 years.
Let's talk about that. So you do your 1, you do your 2, and I have you send energy back to every year in your life, and it's a whole process, and it's a lot, but it's also the game changer because it integrates all what we call the glitches of the unresolved 5-year-old, the unresolved 12-year-old, the unresolved 15-year-old. And because you did your level 1, I think in the July, and then you did your level 2 6 months later.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward 7 years. And this is when social media was starting to kind of, and I could see you on social media with frazzled problems, lots of, things happening in your life, eczema, hives, scrambling about diet, scrambling about everything. And I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, what I couldn't sense is those were all signs that things weren't working. And I had the tools, I did my Reiki, and I didn't use it. I just looked everywhere. I looked everywhere else except for what I had. Everywhere else.
It stings because, I see it in the spiritual community a lot where they judge people for, oh God, why are they like that when they have tools? And I'm like, well, don't you remember that you had a period where you weren't lifting your own tools and those people don't even have any?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's to me, it's a little cruel. When you're judging people that don't have tools from drowning, when you had a period where you didn't even lift yours. And I think that's really interesting because I actually think it's worse.
Oh,
when
it
you
is a
have
lot
the
worse.
tools, but you don't use them.
Yeah. And part of me
Because
knew.
yeah. And then because it has to exaggerate, it has to amplify whatever is going on with you because you're not turning to what you're attuned to, what you're tuned into. So it has to turn up the ante.
Yeah, the volume definitely got turned up. It was a lot of slaps.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a lot of slaps. Because there was some intense slaps.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Necessary for me, unfortunately, to get here.
Yeah, and because your email to me was what was that? What was that voice? What was that thing that said something to me that was really to the point? Because you got into a space that was you were cornered.
Yeah, I was cornered and suspicious.
Yeah, yeah. And not just of me, I was in the same sentence as your husband, which I always adore.
Oh, absolutely. I was suspicious of
He'll be
him.
sorry when I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be sorry
Mm-hmm.
when I'm not here. And I think that's a part of the depression for people. They'll be sorry when I'm, expired, but then you have to expire. You have to
Absolutely.
throw yourself under the bus to punish that other person, which he hadn't done anything and I hadn't done anything, but there was this rage. And I think it's a rage that a lot of people, some people call it, someone said to me the other day and they said, oh, I knew I should have reached out to you and whatever. But I'm just so stubborn. And there's many words for it. I've heard it in very different, and we spoke about this the other day. I've heard it in very different ways. Oh, I'm stubborn. I knew I should have reached out, but I got distracted. Or, and I liken it to, if any of you have ever done yoga and you're in a pose and the teacher's having you hold a pose for, I don't know, 10 breaths, and you're in your head and you're hating the person, him or her. And you're like, why are they doing this to me? Why are they doing this to me? Why am I in this pose? When is this going to finish? I hate her. Right? There's that. And yoga teachers can hear it, the ones that are really tuned in. They hear it, but they choose to ignore it because it's also part of the process of burning through. Another word is what you call resistance. Right? But these are just all words. What is it really? What is the core essence of this when you start to melt into it in the physical aspect? This is the same as the energetic and the emotional aspect. And then at the end of the class, you're groveling to the teacher, or, oh my God, that was amazing. Or you actually say to someone, oh, I really hated you there, but now I'm so happy that I got, I feel great. I feel amazing. I came in all wound up and it's really kind of silenced my mind and I feel at peace. But I think it's that same thing that when I have you do your work, because I'm working with the subtle, it's not as obvious as the physical body, but there is that same, and I don't like to call it resistance or stubbornness. Annie and I spoke about it yesterday. It's inconvenient. It's a rage that's inconvenient for you to do you. You're looking for fixers. Fix me, Patty. Fix me. But I'm very clear, right? Now I'm super, super clear at level 1. You're doing all the work. I've written the books for over 20 years, and here it is. This is what you're going to do, and this is how we're going to get through the maze, the labyrinth of your life. And it's funny because, do you want to tell everyone about your husband? Because he's a lawyer as well, so he's very pragmatic, and how he would notice when you would do your work and when you wouldn't do your work, and what he saw as a benefit, not just to him personally, because he saw the benefit to himself, but to the family.
Yeah, he said when your energy is off and you're not doing your work, you're the cornerstone of this family. We all feel it. Like it resonates everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can see that he feels it too. Like when I am doing my work and I'm in this place of pause and joy, he's really in this place of pause and joy. But the moment I'm not,
because it's by osmosis. I don't need to do a whole family. I only need to do one, because it permeates. Everyone's in the field, in this energetic field. So it really is the person, again, it's kind of like, oh God, why do I have to do it? Well, because you're attuned.
Yeah, because I'm attuned.
Attuned.
Well, I was being moany and I knew I had to go do my dynamic tapping, but it was inconvenient to go do it right there. And I went into the moans and he felt it. And then when I went and I did the tapping and I released that rage that wasn't even logical, that was going through me,
yeah,
everything settled. He settled,
and
the kid settled.
It is that people don't really know how to put it into words. It's a rage, it's an anger, it's a resentment of, why do I have to do it? Because you have the tools and you know how to do it. It's like saying to someone, well, why do I have to sing all the time at the family gatherings? And you're like, because you're the only one that can hold the tune. Everybody else is tone deaf. We like to hear you. It's that same, but we get so, and that's, I say it at level 1, people aren't hardwired for joy, to be in joy. We mostly kill joy because we're suspicious of it. And when you start to kind of see the places in your life where you kill joy and how you sabotage things, you start to be attuned to more joy that's coming. But it can be really spacious, and it can bring up a lot of suspiciousness, which is sometimes some unresolved trauma from the past, when things are, oh, I'm really enjoying this. This is really amazing. And this is great. And then all of a sudden it feels a little uncomfortable. It feels a little unsettling. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? This is not how I grew up. You really have to do the work to seed and root that energy that it's normal. Of don't let people know you're in joy, because things were harsh. We came from tyrants. We came from people that would snitch on their neighbor. We came on people that were, jealous of neighbors. And, don't get into people's business, don't help. even though they saw bad things happen. There was no social services back then.
Yeah. No.
I mean, there was no help for people that had alcohol. I mean, alcoholism was really the Xanax of the day.
And if you're working so hard for survival, then
Yeah,
it's hard to sort of tune into all of this because you're
yeah,
just trying to survive.
yeah. And I think we have to remember that we've came from people that came from different times of oppression,
Mm.
that came from hardship and toil. And when you start to kind of remember that and you remember what is in your DNA, you know, your ancestors that really overcome things, um, you then again say, well, it's easier than I think. It's easier than I think. And if you can just have that mantra sometimes with whatever you're doing, whether it's your meditation practice, whether it's putting in, you know, your divorce papers, whether it's putting in, you know, your admission to a university that you're scared to go to, it's easier than I think. It's just get it done, get it done. And I think if we can bring that into people's lives, I think that's amazing. So then you came back in like, I think it was about 2018, and you dived in and you dived deep.
Yeah, well, after all of that, after getting smacked down so many times, I learned that there's no more hiding. There's no more using this inconvenience and distraction and resistance because it's not
What do
doing
you think
anything good for me.
What do you think people are hiding from?
I think there's this fear of being yourself, like just being
Mm-hmm.
your absolute self and shining the way you are. And I don't know where it comes from. I think for me, I think back to like growing up and family telling you have to behave and you have to be a certain way, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
suitable. And if you don't act a certain way, then what are people going to think of you? And
Mm-hmm.
so there's this fear that I don't know, like it kind of reminds me of when we were at when we were in Salem, Massachusetts, and we looked at the witch trials and people speak out and they say something, there could be this like attack. And so it's easier to just dim your light, I think. And it doesn't
Yeah,
make
that's
sense. I mean, I guess I'm assuming that when they see these posts and they see like this happiness, it is probably annoying. Like, look at this woman and she's going on and on about how happy she is. And there was a lot of irritation. But it also, what she did come
yeah,
back and say to me, is seeing it and seeing it a lot was an inspiration. It was inspiration of maybe when I'm getting upset, I'm at work or things are not working, I need to
yeah,
take that pause. And she said that. She said, I took that pause. I remember to pause and stay at that place of joy. And
yeah,
it worked. Just doing that and sort of rewiring my brain to do this allowed the rest of my day to be so peaceful.
yeah. And it's just little things that people remember in real life situations. Oh, it's easier than you think, right? But yeah, there was also I had said earlier in the intro uh, of this of why people don't really talk about their healing journeys, because sometimes people are like, oh, that's nice for you that you got to heal that. I had that, and
Or the,
I had to have a hysterectomy,
yeah,
and
they're
that
really
was your
angry.
story. Yeah, that was your story
I
that
was
you
on,
you
I was,
shared.
yeah, I was on a community forum and I used to have this. I had really painful endometriosis and it was almost debilitating pain. And a lot of women have been having this. And I, I tackled it with my pause and joy Reiki. I sent it to there and it stopped. I don't have it anymore. It really just disappeared.
But you didn't
And
just
it's,
Reiki it, you did psychic surgery, you did a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
because you're
Hmm.
like at level 3. You're not like,
Yes.
you know, oh, I'm just gonna, but you also had an experience with a friend who was a Reiki master who was ill, and you were like, oh, have you used your tools? And they hadn't. And you
No.
were perplexed. But then you're perplexed, but also you did it too. So
I did
it's
it too.
all, you know, it's all like that's how we gain our empathy and compassion, because you're like, oh yeah, I've done that. I've done that. Like, what if I'm seeing it in all these other people, then it's coming back to me.
Well,
Uh
it wasn't just doing the Reiki. It's the pause and joy Reiki. It's the when I can't be in a place of like moaning while I'm doing my Reiki. I have to be
Yeah.
put in this place of joy and gratitude and lightness, and really that mentality of it's easier than you think. And
Yeah.
doing that told me exactly what I had to do. And I started doing those things. I did psychic surgery and I did tapping, and I was able to
Hmm.
shift it. But the reaction from people were, I don't want to hear that. I don't even think that's right what you're saying. That's a bunch of hogwash. It's inappropriate
Yeah.
because they got a hysterectomy. And that wasn't their
Well,
story.
that's what happened in the last 20 years. It has been pockets of people that, when people come to me with say cancer, and some people will say to me, I want to do the chemo because that's where I'm at, and I want to supplement, going through all of that with this work. And I'm like, great, because it's not about what I decide, it's about the person going through it.
Mm.
There's no point in the person going through it and saying, I'm not going to do chemo and I'm going to be in fear and do this work. It's where they're comfortable at. I've had one person in 20 years that has said to me that he knew he didn't need to do chemo, but he knew in a certainty that was so profound, because his sister had sclerodermy, which is your skin hardens and you suffocate basically. And she had tapped on it, and she found me in California, and he came to me, and he came to me for 6 months every week. And he just fasted. This was a guy that lived in Studio City. He wasn't some yogi from Venice, right? He was just an ordinary man, like my dad, like a welder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did this just fasting. He did his thing. He tapped on things that were so core and so deep. And it was funny. He said when he had a very significant birthday, he remembered thinking, who would care if I died? He was alone with his cat. He says, I thought I'd be married by now. I thought I'd have had a family by now. And then a year later, when he got his diagnosis, he thought, well, I'll care. I care. I care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he was like, why did I stop going to my music venues? Why did I stop playing guitar? Why did I stop going out and doing my hikes in nature? I threw him on a horse.
Mm.
For his lymphatic system, and we would go out riding and took horse lessons. He did a lot of things in nature. He was doing his juice fasting. He was doing other things as well. And then he was tapping with me. And then 6 months later, they couldn't find it. And then they did keyhole surgery on the Thursday, and he was at a circle on the Saturday. So it really is where it's not about me; it's about you as the person participating.
Yeah,
Where is
absolutely.
your comfortability? Where is your feeling of oh yeah, that this feels aligned for me? Because
Yeah.
it's that hesitation. It's that hesitation, and it's also that doubt, right? When you're doing something, and you're all in, and you just know, and people say, well, how did you know to do that movie? How did you know to create that company? And you're like, I don't know, I just knew.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that space. And also when you come to this work, it's like, well, how do you know who your teacher is? Just
You
like
know.
when you fall in love.
Yeah,
you
you
know
know. There's
you
no
just
pause and joy
that's your
conversion.
person. That's your
Yeah.
person. I mean, I'm not into conversion therapy. I'm not here to
Mm-hmm.
convert you, but also you have to, and you experience this as well, and I experienced it many years ago when I did yoga and Ayurveda training, of knowing what you need to do and dancing around it. And many people say to me, oh yeah, I went around everybody else, but I knew I needed to come to you. But I allow people, that's a part of the process. That's a part of you being comfortable with your own knowing and
Yeah.
owning your own knowing by wasting your own time. You're not wasting my time. I'm off doing my own thing.
It's sometimes so much easier to just distract yourself and delay.
It is because you're not cooked.
Yeah,
I
you're not
kind of
cooked.
always say it to people of like, I know when people are cooked and they're cooked through, and they don't need to be going through the meat grinder to get there. There's just something in their vibration, in their eyes, in their cadence, in their tonality that's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I don't care what you tell me to do, what you ask me to do. I'm gonna do it. There's a, whether you want to call that surrender, whether you want to call that it's almost like a you've given it away, whatever that thing is that you've given it away.
But you can easily lose it if you're not sincere, and you're not vigilant, and you're not diligent with your work. It can go fly right out.
I know. And I don't think I emphasized that enough. So I apologize for that. I don't think I emphasized that enough when I was younger to people that were working with me. That, you know, the connection doesn't go away even though you're distracting yourself. Actually, the opposite has to amplify to get you back. But I emphasize it now. Not to
Yeah.
scare people, but because it's a reality.
Yeah, it's definitely a reality. I remember that reality quite well.
Because I've seen it too many times with people,
Mm.
with students that decide to kind of put their tools away, and they rattle. They rattle. So yeah, let's finish with VJ and your daughter. Your daughter has just done her, and you're twins, right? So one twin
Yeah.
was ready and the other twin was not ready. And this could be a whole book in itself about these two girls and how one has watched the other one use the energetic practice for her exams, for finding her little brother that got lost in the water park, to all sorts of things. So that's kind of fascinating. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. So the kids have a new word. It's called sus, and it means suspicious. But I think one of my twins is just more suspicious. She's seen the same data as the other one that has come and done the work, but still, like she wasn't
Yeah.
ready to go ahead and fill out the application and do it. And after her sister did it, she wasn't quite so happy about it. She would say, she would say things like, I see you right now. You're not behaving. You're not being very good. And you did all that pause and joy Reiki. I didn't act that way. And the attuned child would look at her sister and she's like, yes, but I have my work now to go to use as a tool. And I also know that you're acting. I can see through this. That's play acting. You're just trying to be good to say this right now.
Oh, they're so funny. It's so fun. Tell everyone about the exams. You know, how one got, I think it was 100%, the other one got like 94. And she was like, how
Well,
did you do that?
so both of them, are pretty much similar academically, but I've been collecting data now ever since she got attuned. Without a doubt, the one that has the attunement will get straight A's, and her sister is almost there because they're really
Mm-hmm.
similar, but she'll miss things. And she'll ask her sister, "Well, how did you do that? Like, how did you figure it out?" And she says, "Well, I turn on my Reiki, like take my exam, and I can feel it. I can feel I need to go back and change that, and I can feel what I need to do, and I can feel like even before that how I need to study. It falls into place quicker, easier." And she was like,
Mm.
"Oh,
Ooh. Ooh. Oh my goodness, she's so funny. But you have to allow them that contrast for each other.
yeah,
You know, for her to see you've done it, but I'm not there yet. I'm not cooked. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than forcing people into this work or selling people into this work.
Well, it's so interesting yesterday because they were starting to get angry. I could see like the rage coming up, and there's no talking them out of it. There's no logic. So I sat the kids down in the living room. I pulled up the Pause and Joy dynamic tapping video for just students, and I made them do the ninth gamut. I made them reset, and then I had Anju lead them in a round of tapping. And Asha was not very happy. She did not want to be doing it. She was just kind of whining and moaning. And I'm like, we're going to sit here until we do this correctly. She went through a couple repetitions. It was maybe like 5, 10 minutes max, and boom, like a boomerang. She shifted out of that place of being really testy with each other. And they all sat down, and then I had a conversation with them. And I said, I feel that way so much, where something has happened, and I don't even know why I'm upset, but I'm upset. And
Yeah.
it's starting to like create a storm inside of me. But I have tools that I can get rid of it. And they've been watching some of those Karen videos. They're like, oh, mommy, oh, those Karens, they need those tools too. I'm like, yeah, and so do you. And then both Ajay,
You're being one right now.
and so then both Ajay and Asha, and they were like, we're ready. Can we get signed up next time we do a level 1 class? We're ready for this. I'm like, good. I'm glad. But they could see the contrast.
Yeah.
To see the anger and to see the diffusement of that anger so quickly.
Yeah, and how we weaponize it on each other, our frustrations, and where that can lead when people are really mad and angry, and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
So I think the thing I have noticed in your practice is definitely your comfortability with enjoying these things and enjoying these tools, rather than it being not even I have to practice it. I have to do it because Patty's telling me that this is what I have to do at level 3 or level masters. But I think that's when I know that a student's ready to go off and teach or do whatever it is that they're going to do, write books, whatever, is they don't need me to tell them that they needed to do that. They're just doing it.
And it was there for a long time. Even after I did my level 3, I had the appreciation, the sincerity for the practice. But I remember even with meditation or yoga, I was like, oh, I got to go do this right now. And it took so long to finally get to this point.
Inconvenient, yeah.
It's so inconvenient to take the time for myself, sit with myself, get the messages, and be calm and not act crazy with my children. But that was inconvenient, that 20, 30 minutes to do this. But now it's luxurious. It's better than a spa time.
Yeah.
But it took me almost a decade to get to this point for me.
But but I remember the lady that had sent you the message, and you were kind of perplexed about it, but she had asked you about, because you had been taking your children to all the waters, all the rivers and streams, and to bless them, just because you got that message and you went on a road trip with the kids. And do you want to tell people what the message was and what you said?
Yeah, she said, if I did those things and I just like took my child to the waters and started doing mantras or doing a meditation, they would laugh. They would laugh uncontrollably and be like, what are you doing? That's crazy. And my response to her was, but that's the difference is my children have seen this. Like they're getting this through osmosis. They've been seeing this practice. They've been seeing my journey on this practice, and they see the impact, like the direct impact of it. And so many situations, like one that comes to my mind is we were in Santa Cruz at the mystery spot, and I didn't know that you need to get tickets in advance. So we get there, and there's a woman in front of me, and she's told, you got to wait like 2 hours. And I'm like, oh man, we are in Santa Cruz for a day, and I want to go do these hikes afterwards. And I'm like, kids, we're gonna get into the right mind frame, okay? I'm like, I'm gonna turn my Reiki on right now. I'm gonna send Reiki to this. I'm gonna have clarity about this, and it's gonna be easier, and it's gonna work out. we get right up there. And as soon as she sees us at night, and she's like, actually, a slot, someone just canceled. There's space in 10 minutes. And they've seen this like time and time again. And they've seen also time and time again how I can get angry about something, but then I stop and I use my tools and I'm back in center.
Yeah.
And so seeing that and seeing that direct impact, like they know this is
Well, yeah,
magical tool.
they would never ridicule you because
No.
they've benefited from it. Your children are only going to ridicule you when you don't have a practice, but you're that's in life, it's for show.
Right.
Or you say that you're going to go and do a class, but it really doesn't translate into the family dynamic because they see you behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They see mommy and daddy behind closed doors. So you can go off and do your drumming circles and your meditation classes and everything, but they're like, oh.
Right. Absolutely.
Look
Or
at
we go
that.
somewhere and so
Yeah.
let's sit down, let's meditate together as a family. And so doing that and instilling it, like they want it. Like the children, there's four of them. The girls are 12. There's a 9-year-old and there's a now 6-year-old. And even with these diverse ages and diverse interests, they see the power of it. When I say, let's sit down, we're going to have a little circle, or I'm going to do a healing attunement on all of you, they know it's a time for reverence because there's a power.
Yeah. And I think the more, because, Reiki itself was very much like yoga, reduced to healing. Fitness was
Right.
yoga's, oh, you're going to get nice body and you're going to get this and you're going to get, not the connection, not a spiritual path that it's going to take you on. And that's really what both of them came to the West as a yoking with whatever you want to call it, right? The ineffable divine presence, the force, spiritual conscious energy. And when you start to, and I don't have to understand it to be connected to it, I just know that it guides, and it guides me. And I think when you, and some people have a problem with that guidance because they have had experiences in their younger years where they feel that God's spirit abandoned them. And that's understandable, but really it was a lot of the parents or the grandparents' lack or duplication of their parents and grandparents that creates these chaotic households that many people grew up in. Many ragers, alcoholics, drugs. And when we sometimes remember the things that got us through as children, that we sometimes forget, because what we're going to do, be taken out of that situation. We know that taking children out of situations of families is the worst thing you can do, even if it is a parent that is struggling. It's the worst. But I believe that once you have that calling or that phenomenon happen in your life where you're like, what happened to you at the party? I have to have this in my life. I just have to have it. Then you start to say, okay, what is this? How can I use it in different ways? How can I use this when I'm meditating? How can I use this in my yoga? How can I use this with my children? How can I use this with my cooking? How can I be in this vibration closer and closer and deeper until I am emanating it?
Yeah. I felt that connection sometimes in my younger life, but I couldn't hold on to it. Like I could not hold on to it until I started doing positive Reiki. Like it would come in and it would seed for a moment, but then it would just disappear. It was elusive.
And do you think it was elusive because of, you know, like how you were growing up? You know, how it was, you know, you were an immigrant family, you were trying to make ends meet, you were building a life here, and it was hard. So you get moments, you get glimpses, and then you're back at the grindstone.
And well, it's also like really like it's like a revelation. It's a new way of thinking of you're
Yeah,
supposed to live in joy. I feel like
yeah,
we've heard for so long. Life is hard. It's hard work. It's toil. It's misery. Things are not going to be easy for you. It's always going to be hard, and that gets sort of written into your fabric
yeah.
because all of this is around you. This sort of this fear.
And I think when you realize that the hard stuff can be enjoyable as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, like I enjoy hiking at 10,000 feet with my dogs. That to
Mm.
other people is a complete nightmare. You know, to other people, you might enjoy um, knitting. To you, you might enjoy cooking for all your family, which to other people is like, oh, please. You know, so we all have our different way in that we enjoy.
I also think it's because in in Pause and Joy, we do so much work, like cleaning. There's so much cleaning out. Like it's not just like you said, it's not just a tool that you use when somebody gets hurt and you need to like fix a trauma or a boo-boo that someone's got. It's really
Yeah,
cleaning
no,
out yourself.
that's a bonus. That's
Right.
the bonus. If
Yeah.
something happened to somebody in the family, you get to use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's lifting the tools when there's nothing wrong. There's
Yeah.
nothing happening as well, just because you can.
Yeah. Every day and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you do yoga, take it into the physical, you do yoga because you have back problems or scoliosis.
Mm.
And then you start doing yoga because you want to go into samadhi or you want to have that divine bliss, you want to have that blissful moment that you take into and embed into yourselves. Uh, it's a different intention, it's a
Yeah.
different focus.
And I think the energy is also really strong. When I did my sound baths training, I at the end of it, like I went around and I Reiki people by their feet, and somebody came up to me and she was a seasoned Reiki master teacher, and she said, what did you do? Like, what was that?" And I said, "Well, that's my pause and joy Reiki." And she said, "I've never felt anything like this. It was so incredibly strong." And I think it's because you put us through the ringer. So
Yeah, I do. I put you through the
we,
ringer because I don't want to churn out students that are also for the students' benefit. You know, what is not cleared in you, you will invite into your life.
mm-hmm.
So, for that reason, and also because I want people to be at a certain consciousness as a Pulse and Joy Reiki Master.
Right, right.
And also be able to have that level of energy come through them. I've actually attuned, I think, you know, definitely over the years, many Reiki masters reattuned them from level one up because they felt the call, they felt the calling
Yeah.
to do this work because of the message or you know the specifics of parts of the training that they want to delve into, or they were doing healing and they had that experience where they were manifesting students or clients that had some unresolved things that they had. So they wanted to have a kind of stronger, clearer energetic field that wasn't mirroring in the
Yeah,
neural mirror, the mirror neuron effect, you know, where
yeah,
you mirror uh, uh, what you are. And So they wanted to have a kind of cleaner slate, so that they were helping people by, but not being depleted or triggered themselves, which no one really kind of talks about a lot in the healing world, or they actually just don't even know, and they start to come to me for sessions because they are depleted, or they feel they can't handle it, or why am I getting this one kind of thing keep coming up in all the different clients that they've had. And I was like, oh, that's because you've got it.
Like, well, it's like me,
And they're
right?
like, oh my God.
I've been attracting people who are resistant to learning, and it's because I was so resistant to teaching for so long. So I'm clearing that right now.
Bingo. Yes. And I
But it,
actually think you doing this and stepping into this is part of that for you.
yeah, yeah,
Part of that seeding for you, exposure for you. Not just kind of putting up posts to people that you know in your area and them having opinions about, oh, here she goes with the pause and joy stuff. Listen, I know I'm from Glasgow. I don't think I know the eye rolls I get. I actually had someone say to me not that long ago when I went home, they were like, I just thought maybe there's something to this thing that you do. Right? Look at you. I know
yeah.
what age you are.
Well, this was really good practice for me because
Uh-huh.
usually, like every time even when I was a seasoned government employee and I would have to go do a conference, I would get so sweaty, like so sweaty. And my heart is like, and this is something that I prepared for. Like I've made it's a PowerPoint. People aren't even looking at me. I'm just going to say the words on the screen. And it's so much nervousness.
Because it's really about the amount of focused energy on you
Yeah.
that you can feel, and you have no control over what they're thinking, and it, depending on how strong your vibration is, can actually short circuit you. And when you short circuit the electrical bioenergy field, that can look like different ailments, diseases, happenings, sweaty palms, nervousness,
Yeah.
palpitations,
Forgetting things that you just
passing
wrote.
out, fainting, nausea. These are all physical effects of emotion. But then really, the emotion is coming from an energetic blockage in the circuitry. So you short circuit.
Mm.
You play around with a device when you were little, it short circuits. That's you. You short circuit sometimes. You're
Yeah.
like, do not compute, do not compute,
No, so
abort,
many times.
abort this conversation.
And I've never done anything like this, like where I'm live and people are watching from who knows where all over the world. But having these tools, right, of every single night this past week, sending my Reiki, my disassemble to
Yes,
this
yes.
morning,
This is a
when
big
I
deal for
actually,
you.
oh, it's a big deal. This morning I started
I
feeling
sent
it.
you energy last night.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and this
Because I
morning I
could feel
started
it.
feeling
I
it.
was like, remember, we're here to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. And so then this morning I had to remind myself of that. And then I went through my rounds of dynamic tapping and I did my meditation with the Reiki turned down. And I had to tell myself or remind myself, this is a beautiful experience. Like this is part of life. Like you get to enjoy this. Just enjoy it.
Yes, but what people do is they kill it, they kill joy, and they panic or they don't breathe, and then they starve the brain of oxygen. They take a panic attack or they take anxiety because why did I agree to this? Why am I doing this? What's
Hmm.
going to come up? No, I don't know. And then they don't have the experience, and they're cheating themselves of joy
Yeah. Yeah.
constantly. I've seen in the last 3 months. Not people that work with me, but people I know as cousins and stuff. It's like sabotage 101. I'm like,
Yeah, it is.
oh, they were so close, but they had to go into the ditch because they couldn't. It was too much. They weren't ready. They thought they weren't ready. I thought I wasn't ready. Rather than, it's just easier than you think.
It's easier than you think.
It's easier than you think that we get to be on here with all these lovely folks who have joined this morning in our first episode of It's Easier Than You Think. I was saying earlier, for those of you who have joined later, it's the pause is silent. Although I have to write it. Isn't that funny? Like, even in Pause and Joy, I realized the pause is silent. And, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like when you go to the movies and you're moaning about traffic or you're moaning about something. And you're like, and the person goes, enjoy the movie. And you're like, oh, that's right. I came here to enjoy the film. But I've been whining for the last 10 minutes about not being finding parking in the car parking structure.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God. And when you catch those moments, you laugh. You have to laugh. Or you go into berating yourself. Humor is as important on a spiritual path. Actually, I think it is one of the most overlooked aspects in a spiritual path. Of, you know, that's why people can see what they say to me in sessions or when they're learning, because I'll say something that is so honest and so truthful that it is like, it would burn the eyebrows off you. But I see it because they're in the class and they're doing tools, but they're like, they start laughing. We all start laughing and they're like, oh my God, that is so true. Right? And we can get through it because everybody said it out loud. God, I'm so spiteful to myself. And you're like, you are. I've been watching it for a while now.
Yeah, that power it's so powerful to admit it, to be able to be honest. Even
Yeah,
this
and
morning.
that's the admittance is the key. It's the key. If I can admit, God, I'm so mad.
Well,
So
that's
mad
why
that my cousin's doing this because I want to do it too. I want to do something like that. I want to be in that space. I want to do that, but I'm not going to ask her. I'm not going to ask her because if I
yeah.
ask her, then she'll know that. What will she know? She'll know that I'm asking about something that I need to know. I mean, it's like they get themselves all in a conundrum. It's a labyrinth that
But
everywhere's
if
a
you're
dead end.
but if you're
Rather
funny
than
about
being,
it,
it's okay to ask. It's okay
yeah.
to ask, but oh my God, it can be nauseating for some people to do that, to have that, and that's where humility comes in.
Well, that's why I've always really loved all of our dynamic tapping that we've done in our circles because they're funny. Like we say some funny things. Like I'm so angry about this. It's so honest, raw, and hilarious
It's
because we're
hilarious.
going
And
there.
actually, it can be quite shocking to people that come to the workshops who have never done this work before because they're like, shouldn't you do 20 therapy sessions to be able to say that? Someone just said it randomly, and it was like, ooh, I'm feeling that too, but I would never say it.
Yeah, I would never
And I'm
say it.
like, wow, okay, well, how much time do you have to waste? Because you know you're on the clock.
Mm,
Oh, did no
hmm.
one tell you that? You're on the clock.
Yeah,
It's a sense
you're
of
definitely on the
time.
clock.
We're on the clock. There, we will be expired. So if we can have tools that gets us to move through this sludge of hesitation, doubt, stuff, because I have known people who really, without these things, they would never have been able to launch what they did. And I also know people that failed to launch because they were in their head.
Yeah.
And their ideas were brilliant, their scripts were brilliant, their books were brilliant, their entrepreneurial skills were brilliant, but they couldn't overcome the stuff that happened to them when they were little, or who, the voice in their head that's their father telling them that they'll never amount to anything. And that's something that they don't teach at university, right?
No.
They can teach you all the skills to be great lawyers, to be great this, to be great that. But if you're running programs that are conditioning you, or berating you, or keep pulling you back to that place of not enough because of where I grew up or who I am, or, I mean, pick your poison. Pick your poison. It can be, to me, it's heartbreaking, because it's like it's in everyone. It's in everyone, and sometimes it's not about the skills and the technicality. It's about the mindset, and about the things that they told them that they didn't tell them that they needed to clear to be able to rise.
Well, and I don't
take off.
I don't think that we're ever told too that we don't necessarily have to analyze all of those things. We can just remove them. We can just get rid of it. We don't have to spend all this time distracting ourselves by like getting into like, why is it that this happened and why isn't this stuck with me? You can just admit it and you can just clean it.
Yes, and that's what's coming. And I think people are ready for that, because I think the global pandemic of 2020 has allowed people the understanding of the time that we have with each other and on this planet is limited. And we waste so much time overthinking and overanalyzing and talking ourselves out of our dreams, our visions, our greatness, our fantastical ideas that even sometimes family members are like, I don't get it.
Well, it was after,
because you tell a family member, oh my God, I don't get this good idea. And they're like, I don't get it. And you're like, but you don't need to get it.
So after my level 2, I knew that I need to leave my job. I had a great job. It was the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I could never get fired. It was a pleasant place. But I wanted to be at home with the 3 kids. And it was after doing Pause and Joy Reiki level 2 that I realized it was so strong, because I was dialed in, I was tuned in, and I knew I had to let it go. And everyone around me looked at me like I had lost my head. Like you work so hard. You're gonna leave your job. You're gonna leave your really good job to be at home. And my mom was incredulous.
Oh, to be just a mother?
You're gonna leave all this just to be a mom? I mean, do you know what happens to women who leave their jobs? You get screwed in family law. Like, it's like you just get attacked by all this stuff. And if you don't have this space where you are connected.
I think that goes back to the minimization of the mother.
Yeah.
And I mean, you are bringing up the next, they always say, oh, you're bringing up the next president, but you're also bringing up the next entrepreneur. You're bringing up the next astronaut. You're bringing up the next whatever, but you're also bringing up the next monster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If the child's neglected, what we call a monster. When we've looked at the psychology of all of these people who have been ignored, neglected as children, things that have happened to them in the absence of parents because they're so overwhelmed. So I think we need to look at the families and give the families tools and things that they can really work on, rather than soundbite notions of, oh, we need to be more mindful. like,
No,
okay,
that's not
I'm like
helpful.
spinning top, like let's all sit in a circle and tap on this, just like you did the other day. You told me in the kitchen when one of your boys was like, "Oh, mommy, you just do it right here, right now."
Yeah, it's like right
Yeah,
here, right now. Anywhere you need to. You can use it anywhere you need to.
oh yeah, I've many times been at things, and I've excused myself to go to the bathroom, not because I need the bathroom, because I'm like,
I mean, at this point, there's so many times I just start, and they're like, "Oh, what's wrong?" I'm like, "I gotta clear something out. I gotta clear something out. Mommy's
gotta
clearing right
gotta
now."
gotta gotta just clear the field because I'm bringing some headspace that you don't want here right now. I need to
Yeah,
clear it. It's triggering me, and it's
but
but having also joy in it, because it also can be weaponized.
but this is such a contrast for me because I was the person who was constantly yelling, always yelling at the kids, getting so emotionally charged, not being able to like deal with little things. I remember profoundly one time, and it's a shameful story, that Ajay woke up in the middle of the night and he wanted water, and I was so mean. I was so mean because I was sleep deprived. I had three kids. I also refused to hire help because I was marinating in misery and not doing my work. And I was so angry with him that this little tiny, like 2 year old woke up and said, "Mommy, I need water." And like such a dramatic shift, right? And after I came back and I started being seated into my practice and using my tools, and it doesn't matter if my little guy gets up in the middle of the night and he's had an accident, my reaction is dramatically different. He's never
Yeah,
been yelled at for that because of
yeah,
this practice. And it's so easy if you just do the work.
yeah, and hopefully, um, the world will turn to
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Because that to me is self love,
Mm,
giving yourself the the tool belt that goes with you everywhere you go, rather than I think it's a mentality of oh well, they'll sink or swim.
hmm
They'll either make it or they won't make it. They'll either kind of burn and crash and burn and lose their mind, and we'll all enjoy watching that too.
Well, that's what's kind of happening now with the vaccine. Well, you didn't get the vaccine. I guess you're going to learn suffer. It's
Well,
ugly.
that to me is a little without being too harsh, I think it's sadistic thinking.
I do too. Yeah.
uh you'll learn from because I heard a story the other day, and it really did um make me very sad. It was a man in Scotland, and his wife wanted him to get vaccinated. He didn't get vaccinated. He had a lot of underlying conditions, and it wasn't because he was against the vaccine. It was because he was frightened of needles.
Oh,
Oh, and that I was like, oh, because I've tapped on that before for people. So maybe I need to do a tapping for people that are afraid of needles. But I just thought that was a sad story.
yeah, it's sad.
And it really, wow. Because I was frightened of needles growing up, when I was little.
Well, it reminds me of like all the times that I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I had this like lack or fear or scarcity in my mind because of my family background coming from Bangladesh, and I didn't
Yeah,
hire help because I was in lack, and I had all the tools and I had all the knowledge, but I still didn't do it because there were these other issues that no one could understand. And so, and I've been able to get to places that are spiteful, and it's such a reminder of
yeah,
you have the tools and you don't do the work. We have to have that compassion without
yeah,
relating.
yeah. We're getting there. We're getting there. And it's exceptional times that we're living in.
But I'm so glad that I'm not spiteful. Like I don't have that in me right now. And I could see myself
Yeah.
being like that, saying those things too. Absolutely. What I'm hearing could have come
Sometimes
out of
we
my
were
own
brought
mouth.
up by traumatized people that had their own limitations. that depending society-wise, depending on the culture, depending on where you grew up, depending on so many different messages that you received that aren't applicable to you now in your life as this person in 2022.
You don't have to carry that. You can have that sympathy to, this is where they were, and now I understand.
Yes.
This is where they were, and how lucky I am.
Understanding for it, but you still have the mentality of it that you have to shift.
Yeah, absolutely.
Understanding doesn't shift it. It just gives you understanding and empathy for it, but you still have the behavior.
It's stuck inside of you.
So you have to shift it so that it doesn't. And then people are like, "Oh, you're not doing that thing that you used to do," because you sometimes don't even notice it, and that's when it gets tricky. And you know that, right? As you have came to like a masters, you see that, oh, that can kind of slip in where you think you're there already and there's nothing else to do, and you know you have to be vigilant of that, because that's when your practice, when everything's great, that's when your practice sometimes needs to double down, because you're doing it from a place of joy, not because you're fixing stuff.
Yeah. Well, after doing the teacher training and coming up to the Bay Area, I thought, well, I did all this work, right? So I'm going to be at peace with living here. But I was so upset about being in the Bay Area. I was so upset. Then I created this entire fantasy. It's so cold here. It's so cold. It's the coldest place on the earth. And so upset about it. And I started breaking out in hives. I had hives in my face. I had hives in my body. My husband thought it was the construction from the house and remodeling. And it's because like I had to clean that and I had to double down on my practice.
Yeah.
But this time I knew what I had to do. So I doubled down on my practice and I didn't have to go
to the doctor. That's what I say, isn't it? It's you think there's going to be an end when you hit being a Reiki master.
No.
It's finished. I'm there. I've arrived. And what you realize is there is an end to you saying like a child, am I there yet? Am I there yet?
Yeah, that's the only difference.
Am I there yet? Like that just stops. And you realize that, you know, you'll be there when you're leaving your body.
Yes.
That's when you'll be there. But what you'll be resistant free of is doing your work on yourself as you're going through life.
And so I'm able to enjoy it. I get to enjoy the entire experience, not moan. Or you say something to somebody over and over and they literally just don't hear it. You can't make them hear it if they're not hearing it.
Exactly. And that's why sometimes this is a perfect one to finish on. But you know, when you're in, you tell someone in your family something over and over again, and you've said it like 3 times, and then they're sitting on a plane or a bus, and someone says it to them, and they come back and they're like, you know, this person on the bus said this thing to me, and it was so profound. And they told me about this woman in heel, and they told me to watch this documentary. And you're like, I've been telling you that for 2 years. And you're like, really? Have you? And you get so offended.
You can only receive that message.
That the person didn't hear you. It's that every time you said it, it was creating a little bit of a perforation, a hole in their wall, in their barrier to hear it. But then it came in and it dropped in through the person on the bus. And you don't get the glory for it. You don't get the person on the bus got the glory for it.
No. You've been chipping away at it.
Maddening.
Yeah. Yeah. It is maddening.
I think that is the best, when you can have a sense of humor about that, when you kind of like know that the universe is teaching you a lesson of, oh yeah, you're not ready for all that to go to your head, that it was you. the savior of your family, savior. You've got the savior syndrome now, you know, and it's saving you from your savior syndrome by it coming through the person on the bus.
Oh, gratitude. Got to have that gratitude all the time.
Oh my God. It's, I tell you, you can't outwit the software what we're inside. Don't try.
No,
It's
there's no
too
hacking it.
sophisticated. If Steve Jobs' last words, his real last words that his family put out when he said, "Oh wow, wow," if it wowed him, imagine.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with here. So come to it with humor sometimes. Sometimes ask, you know, and connect with it with humor. And I think we don't talk about that enough because I think it's we think it's silly or minimal. But you know, I sometimes go to it with humor and be like, you know what? I don't know what to ask for the world because I don't know where
Mm.
to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but I know I'm dealing with something sophisticated and intelligence unrecognized. So, in that, I'll let you do your thing, but it's not good. And you cannot have that sense of humor. And then you feel this profound presence of pleasure that you surrendered your little know-it-all of what you think the world needs, and you have humility and reverence in the same sentence.
Yeah. I remember you had told us one time, like, if you don't know what to do next, you can sit with your meditation and just say,
Ask
show me
and
the
ask.
next step and ask.
Show me the way.
Show me.
Show me.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it scares me, even
Yeah.
if you're telling me that I need to go out in front of 10,000 people or a million people or 100 million people, I'll do it. You
Mm-hmm.
have to, you know, it's going to tell you, but you might be like, you know, like, ooh, sleep, 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 sleep. Oh, yeah, I didn't hear that. So we'll leave it there, but thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, this sharing of, remember, folks, it is easier than you think.
Thank you so much, Patty, for having me here. And for me to have this experience to be on here and go through all of that, I
Yeah,
think was
you've
really
had a
important.
shift today. So I think what we do is we just sit for a minute and
Okay.
just allow everybody to bask in your expansiveness, your stepping into whatever you were stepping in today, and allow everybody to feel that through this moment, because they'll walk away from benefiting from what you have clearly given us today. We've received, and you've received whatever you needed to receive, and we're just all in an expansive, clearing, fun space of knowing that it's easier than we think. Wherever that needs to come up in your life right now, let's call that in. Take a deep inhale and release, and just enjoy your day, folks. Thank you, Ani.
Thank you so much.